A very good afternoon and welcome back to the touchline on Y254. My name is Maxwell Wasike. This particular afternoon, we're glad to be joined by, a reputable name when it comes to matters sports. MWALIMU Orerero. He has been at the helm of Kenya Secondary Sports Schools Association as the chairman, and currently, as we speak, is the treasurer for Kenya Basketball Federation, and has been in several schools, mostly in Nairobi, Kamukunji, Langata, Dagoretti, Upper Hill as the principal before he resigned to join into the murky waters of politics. And he's joining us this particular afternoon to share his insights regarding what he intends to do for sports in case he joins parliament. Good to see you, MWALIMU.
Yes.
A very good afternoon.
Afternoon is a long time.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. Although now I'm thin a bit after
politics. Politics
is not a child's play.
It's not a child's play.
Yeah.
How is it? What's the progress of everything?
I think it's fine. I'm not new in politics. You know, when you become the chair of Secondary School Sports Association, it is all about politics.
It's political.
Yeah, because you have to get the delegates all over the country. And you know, when you deal with the teachers, these are people who are well informed, they're intellectuals. So for them to put you there, you know, there's a lot of things that you can offer to them.
Actually, a friend of mine was telling me that, these sporting elections where someone is vying for chairman of a federation and delegates are probably 70, they are much heavier than, what is witnessed during the really politics of the one we're looking forward to August general elections. How true is that?
I think you are not far from the point.
Yes.
Because as we look at the national election for these sports and these other things, you deal with the whole country and you start from the very grassroots up to the national level. So when we come just to a small constituency, we find that it is easier to deal with. And in fact, I'm just hearing saying that now I'm the treasurer. I think that now is misplaced. I've been the treasurer for the last 15 years.
You've occupied that position
for the last 15 years.
Over a decade ago.
Oh, yeah. And always going in unopposed. I was only opposed the first time, but because of the work that I've done to the basketball fraternity, every time I come in back, they take me unopposed.
You see, when I told a colleague that I'm bringing MWALIMU Orerero on Saturday for the show this particular afternoon, he asked me that, the first question you should ask MWALIMU, we always confused. What is his favorite sport? Is it basketball, football, rugby? Then I said I will try to ask him, but I'm not sure whether he will respond. Please try to answer. What is your favorite sport?
I am a sportsman. When you're a sportsman, you like all the girls, but you specialize in a few.
Yes.
Like for me, I have specialized in sports, football,
yes,
basketball, and people do not know that I also specialize in netball.
Oh, you love netball as well?
Not loving. I've been a coach up to the national level. I was appointed even a national team coach and also coached the netball team. You remember when I was in Kamukunji, I won for 12 years
yeah, in netball. Continuously.
So I was international referee and also international coach for netball. But these are people who do not know because they think netball is only for ladies.
MWALIMU, you've done amazing work as far as, talent nurturing at secondary school level. Personally, I was in 2016, I was in Kisumu. When you remember when Baldin.
Yeah. Baldin, yes.
Baldin was causing, chaos to some secondary schools, and I think it was their first time now for them coming into public limelight. Yeah. And you are on the touchline and you forget about, your tag of being as a principal of a huge school in Nairobi, and you are passionate about sports. Tell us, what is the driving factor? Where do you draw inspiration from in terms of, your love for sports? How did it start?
No, it started a long time when I was school. After that, when I came to teaching. Basically, people don't know that when I was posted to Nairobi, the then Deputy Secretary for Teacher Service Commission saw my talent to come and start a team for the TSC, Teacher Service Commission. So I came in to play for the TSC and also to start teams for the TSC. And played for TSC for 9 years. Moved them from Division 5 to almost national league. Then became also the coach of the TSC and player coach, both football and netball. So And after that, I went for a lot of trainings in these sports, in the love sports. I went to training in almost all the fields in sports. I went to training for rugby, for basketball, for football, for netball, for athletics. And by the way, I was a serious runner. In schools, the teachers' records, I'm still holding. Nobody has broken. Yeah. So I cut across many sporting activities, but now I narrow down. Like now I was only in football, basketball, and rugby.
You know, we are always told that as men, we don't know how to multitask. And like our sisters, our mothers, our wives, you know, they know how to juggle in between. How do you do it? How do you manage doing it now that you are a man of football, netball, basketball?
I think it is a perception that ladies always want to put into men, that men cannot multitask.
Wow, I like that.
That perception, we must obliterate it completely in our minds. Because men, just like ladies, we have the sixth sense. We also have the ability to look at things in different perspectives, and that involves multitasking. So I think I'm one of those people who can multitask, especially where operational things are considered in operation. When you multitask in operations, then that is when you can do many things. So I believe that administration involves, if you are a good administrator, you must multitask. So at my level, if I don't multitask, then I cannot administrate. So sports is a culture. And a culture, when it is inbuilt, then you can express it by a way of performance. And that is what I always do, because myself inside me is sports. So I only need to express it. And I express it in different disciplines. So that is how I manage to do sports and administration.
One of the people watching, and by the way, you can be part of the program and join the conversation as well, sent any question to Mwalimu Peter Orero, who is here to share his insights as far as sports administration. He's a long-term sports administrator and is joining the murky political world from, you know, teaching where he served wholeheartedly for several years before. And Peter Ocheli is asking, Mwalimu, you've been, asking Mwalimu, he's been serving in several schools in Nairobi, Kamkunji, Upper Hill, Dagoretti, and Langata. Why is this the case? Was he in collusion with TSC for him to be just working in Nairobi? I don't know whether that one is sports related, but
I think he has been listening.
Yeah.
I was specifically brought to Nairobi by TSC to start and play for TSC teams. And TSC is in Nairobi. Teachers Service Commission is in Nairobi. So when they took me to Kamkunji, we were training at Upper Hill that time. So my first posting was in Kamkunji. So that is why it is very difficult that I would serve outside Nairobi. So my ability and my qualities allowed me to stay in Nairobi because I was also serving the Teacher Service Commission in a capacity as a player and a player coach for the team. And I took their team to very high strides during that time before I left. So I served in Kamkunji for a long time, came back to Upper Hill as a deputy also for some time, went to Langata as a principal for some time, came back to Upper Hill as a principal, and then lastly to Dagoretti. So that's why I serve here.
And now at Langata, plenty, some of the players who've participated in top tier for Kenyan Premier League, I think most of them during those heydays, they emanated from Langata. How was it like, you know, ensuring that, you know, you taming someone who is passionate about football, extremely passionate about football, and at the same time, they have to concentrate on academics?
I don't think
the likes of Kevin Yade Omondi.
I don't think it is entirely right to say that most of them came from I think that is when you started following my footsteps when I was in Langata. But most of them really came from Kamkunji, when I was in Kamkunji. Wakina Malo, Jamal Mohammed, one of the most talented players.
Even football pundits always say that is the best Kenyan midfielder this country has ever produced. He
was under me for a long time and also helped us to win nationals. I remember in 1999 we were in Eldoret with Malo. He was playing for us but was also captaining the national team under 17. So he would go to Kakamega, play for the under 17. I bring him back to play for us in the school. And we had many other footballers. Oliech. Des.
Hey.
One of the most speedy wingers that you can never come across.
Des left Kakamega High to...
He went only there for 1 year in Form 1. You know, we were tracing him, both of us. Muyende was in Kakamega that time. I was in Kamkunji. I had seen him play in the youth team at Jamhuri High School. So I went for him to come and join Kamkunji. But because Kakamega was of a higher stature, they took him to Kakamega. But he only stayed there for, I think, 8 months. Then he came back to Kamkunji. And then now stayed in Kamkunji throughout. But one of the talented players, maybe because of discipline, his brother Oyombe. Andrew. He is a very, very talented player also. But maybe because of discipline. You know, Liech is more disciplined. No, I'm not saying that on the TV. I'm sorry.
Actually, he's disciplined, yeah. I also know him as a very disciplined man.
He's a very that's why he went far. But you know, the other Oyombe, Andrew, had a bit of child behavior. Not really that, but very, very talented. When you compared most of them, he could help our team in many, many circumstances. He didn't go, but he also went far. He played for the national team and also went for professional. We had people like Odhiambo, who played during the Fabish team.
John Odhiambo Rasta?
Odhiambo, the defender.
Oh.
Yes. He played during that time, went to Germany, played professional, came back. We had Ocho, this played for Gor, national team player. We had Koki, the strong Ulinzi player that time. We had Nyaga. That time, Nyaga, the poster player.
Yes. I know him.
We have Afu, the goalkeeper, who also went professional. We in that team, Nyaga, we have said Nyaga. We had Mariga. That time, we have Okelo, the goalkeeper, also went to the national team. We had all our players in Kamkunji almost played for the national team. Mwalimu,
so your best school era is when you are in charge of Kamkunji. That is what you consider to have achieved most in terms of churning talents.
I think that is also what propelled me to where I am, because I remember all the years, I never missed nationals in my lifetime as a coach. I would be there with the basketball, football, and the netball. So all those years, netball went for 12 years, football we were there, basketball also after we dethroned Buruburu girls, yes. Now we went for nationals all the years. Then I was brought to Upper Hill as a deputy. And also developed sports. When I was a deputy, for the first time, we took basketball to finals of Nairobi. Then also for the first time, we took rugby to the finals. And football to the finals in Upper Hill during my short stint as a deputy in Upper Hill.
And during your stint at the helm of Upper Hill as a principal, you know, Upper Hill was a formidable force in terms of rugby, beating Laser Hill. And I think that is something that also cannot go unnoticed.
I think it's about coaching. I had a very good coach. It's called Victor.
Yes.
He's one of the best junior coaches in this country.
Yeah.
So he develops players from nothing.
Yes.
Even Wakina Olindi, the one now in the national team.
Olindi, yes. Olindi. He's been mentioned in the squad for Toulouse and London.
Yeah, that was our player. And he was developed in...
he was in Upper Hill.
Yes, he was in Upper Hill and only went to Laser Hill in A-level. So he was our player. So we developed so many rugby players in Upper Hill, and sometimes it's because of the support that you give the coaches. So I think because I gave the coach a lot of support, that is how we managed to do rugby. But you are forgetting in Langata, we had Musa Mohammed. We had Daddy.
Kevin Omondi,
Daddy. He could take anybody, anywhere, anytime. Also one of the most skilled players that we had that time. And many other players.
But you see now, Mwalimu, the problem, the schools you've been at the helm, Kamkunji, Langata High School, Dagoretti, Upper Hill, their glory as far as sports dominance has drastically dwindled. What happened and what needs to be done for, you know, the glory to be restored? Was there a secret during your heydays as a deputy principal, as a principal?
I'm just saying it's about somebody's ability, personality, and interest in sports. You can never force a principal or a teacher to take up sports in a manner that I do. Because me, every day at 4, you will get me in the field with the boys, even at this moment when I was the principal. So because I have a personal touch, I have a personal liking of the games. So sometimes when I leave, you know, in Upper Hill, we brought in a talent center. Upper Hill was a talent center. And many other 8 schools in the country. We were being sponsored by UNICEF, and people thought it was a lot of money. But they were just paying fees for the talented students. And then we keep them in school. So when we see talent, we get it, nurture it, develop it, and make it mature in school. So sometimes you find that most heads at 4, they will not go to the field. So when you are not personally involved in some of these things, you realize that the performance will not be the same. And that's what happens to most of these schools. When I leave and you get a head that has no passion for sports, then they would rather say it is academics. But I can tell you, sports and academics go hand in hand. When I was in Langata, I had the highest mean that nobody has got in academics.
Which year is that?
I left in 2008.
Yes.
So you can check, because we have records. When I was in Upper Hill, I got the highest mean in academics, 10.2, 10.1. Nobody has ever got since the school began.
Michael Olunga, while scoring that grade he scored, were you the...
Yeah, I was his principal. I am the one who brought Olunga in Upper Hill. I got him, he was home. He was in Aquinas. But the parents had transferred home. The mother had stopped working. So he went home, and I had a tournament. I normally have a tournament at home. And when I saw him, I told him to get into my bus, and he never went back to collect any clothes. I came with him like that to Upper Hill School.
That is how Mwalimu used to steal talent.
Is it stealing? Or seeing talent and developing talent? Is it stealing?
Oh, it's not stealing. It is seeing talent and developing it.
Yes, seeing, nurturing, and developing. When Olunga came, he could not fit in our first team. Yeah. He stayed until Form 3. When now his talent had been developed.
Was Jacob Gosimule involved in any way in him getting an opportunity at Upper Hill?
Yes, we were with Ghost Mule. Ghost Mule, when we were in Upper Hill, we were running a Liberty Academy with Ghost Mule.
Oh, yeah.
I was a director and still a director of Liberty Academy.
Oh, you're still a director?
Yeah, of Liberty Academy. And this Liberty is linked with the Liberty in Ghana, where wakina Samoa Essien, you know Essien?
Yes, Michael
Essien,
Asamoah
Gyan.
Oh, John Obi Mikel.
Yes, all those guys. So we had a partnership with the Liberty in Ghana. We used to travel with Ghost to Ghana, and also with the players to Ghana. When I was in Langata, the Right Honorable, the 5th president of this country, sponsored our team from Langata to Ghana to take part in the Liberty Academy Under-20 tournament. And I remember we were sponsored by Essien also. We slept in Essien's house with Ghost. And people don't know, even Mariga, before he traveled to Europe, he had to go to Liberty to train for about 3 months, even Jamal, so that he could go to good clubs in Europe. So what we are saying is that Ghost, when we were with him in Liberty, we made our players of Upper Hill to play for Liberty. And that is how Olunga ended up playing for Liberty. And then finally to Breweries, Thika United, and back to Gor, then going out for international.
Wow, good story indeed. Now, Mwalimu, you are stone throw away from, landing the parliamentary seat for Kibra. You bagged the ODM ticket during the just concluded party primaries. I don't know what's in store, because there is someone here, Fadil Athman, who is my director, is asking, Kibra is known for sports. It has produced a lot of football talents like Eric Marcelo Uma. What plans do you have for sports now that you're going to be the next MP for the area? But he's speaking confidently. Is he the IEBC, the electoral body?
I think it is common knowledge in this country that Kibra is the bedroom and bedrock. So when you are a bedrock, then you obviously
stand a chance.
You stand a chance. Not really standing a chance. That is Baba's place. And if you think somebody else can get into Baba's bedroom and succeed, unaota ndoto.
And Mwalimu quitting lucrative teaching industry to join murky waters of political field.
In life, if you cannot take a risk, then you don't need to leave. People must take risks. And you must move to a next platform where you can exercise what you feel is good for you and for the country. I think when you have served at certain levels and you feel now you need another platform to serve the country, then that is when you take risk. And it is men who take risk. And some women, I'm not biased, but I'm a man. So I took the risk. And I think the risk has paid because at least one foot is already in. I only need to bring the other leg so that on the 9th, then I become member of parliament for Kibra and see how to develop those talents. Somebody has talked about Marcelo. It is me and the principal of Olympic then Okumu who pushed Marcelo to go to Gor Mahia.
After Kakamega High School.
After Kakamega High School. In fact, when I was in Apile, I even brought Marcelo, but he went back to Kakamega.
He wanted both academic and his football.
Yes, yes. So, Marcelo, those are some of the players that we have pushed and have gone to the international. Even Musa is also from Kibra.
Yes, Musa Mohamed.
Wakina Raul. There's a player called Raul. Wakina Afu. They are all from Kibra. And I think that is one of my priorities, talent development in Kibra. You know, when you work in Kibra, there is no stadium. When you work in Kibra, there are few academies. There is no football club that is playing in the Premier League. We must look at how we can nurture these talents, take them to the next level, and move them to be professionals. And these are some of the things that I will do as an MP, because that is my area. I don't need to ask anybody anything and any permission to do that. I have been doing it, and I think that is what I will do.
I can see a friend of mine called Ngarwa Kamuya is here. He's a sports consultant, and he loves things to do with sports policies, structures, you know, legislation, because, you know, Kenyans nowadays, we are being considered as, you know, beggars. You saw Mashemeji Derby, FC and Gor Mahia playing after the game. You know, the president, it was a good gesture. President gave a whooping 24 million, 12 million each to both teams. But now we always keep asking ourselves this question. How will that 12 million sustain you? Until when? I don't know. Do you have a policy in mind that probably when you get to the parliament, you will seek to introduce that is geared towards stabilizing and ensuring that, you know, Kenyan sports get stable?
What I want to say that at least we have moved in sports. We are not where we are because you can see the CS of sports now is putting everything that she can to make sure that we professionalize the sporting activities within the country. And she has formed committees to look at the sports policies. I think when the time comes, I will look at those policies because I know that is my area. See how we can improve on what the CS has done now to push this country to another level in terms of sporting activities. Look at all the sporting disciplines in this country. Look at the legislation. What will help these sports disciplines?
Because even as we speak, Mwalimu, most federations, clubs locally haven't complied with Sports Act.
Because it is very difficult to comply with the Sports Act. One, there are no sponsors now for some of these local teams. It is very difficult for the teams to get sponsors. So sometimes the Sporting Act becomes very strict, and most clubs may not conform to
they may not meet the requirements
because it is very difficult for them. But when we get sponsored, like now we have the lottery, when they get sponsors. We have now many teams, national teams are being sponsored. But when we do legislation, we look at how the federations are run and the clubs. They need to have, they form limited companies. People should buy shares in these clubs. We need to have professionals run this club, and they become part, like the cooperatives are run professionally. If we have people with the shares in some of these clubs, then automatically we will have a financial base to help this club run. But people would not want to have these clubs run in a professional manner because they want to serve self-interest. But when we want people now to create opportunity for the players and the clubs, then we must look at other ways to make these clubs professional.
What do we do, Mwalimu, to create an enabling environment, a conducive environment that will attract corporates to come, put their shares in these sporting entities? Because that has also been the question.
I think the most important is about management. We need to have proper management structures in all these, both federation and clubs. But when you have people without knowledge on management trying to run clubs in a pedestrian way, then those clubs will not attract sponsorship. But we need to run federations and clubs in a more professional way. We need to have good managers to run those clubs. You see, like in basketball, for the first time, we were almost going to the World Cup.
Because of Polo Tula.
And Peter Orero is also... and other members. By the way, we have quite good managers, like our former Secretary General, Vitalis Gode, is one of the very good managers. In fact, he's now employed by the FIBA, Charge of Africa Technical. Ah. So he's one of those professionals that we have. He's now a deputy director in administration in technicals in the Ministry of Education. So he's a professional. We have others.
So we need to get professionals getting into sports management.
Yes, yes.
But you see, in Kenya, there is this talk and narrative that, you know, having been a former player, I'm eligible to contest for Kenya Rugby Union vice chairmanship position. What's your take?
That is where we go wrong. Sometimes you can be a player and not a manager. But sometimes you can be both. You can be a player and a manager at the same time. We have seen many players like Guardiola now, the way he's running Man City. Although I'm not a fan of Man City, I'm just giving an example. You see, former player, good manager.
Yeah.
So sometimes we can have good players, but not good managers. Even Mourinho was not a good player, but a very good manager. So we need to look at certain criteria, not necessarily that you are a former player and now you want to coach the national team. First, you must go for proper training and get the required qualification. But we can see other federations picking a captain of the national team to be the head of the coaching unit. It can never happen. There are many, many aspects of coaching that even as a player, you can never know. So we need to professionalize these things. Even when we are looking for coaches, we need to look at good coaches, not just anybody, not friends. So these are some of the things that as Kenya, we need to look at so that we develop some of these. You can see rugby, how many coaches that we have? Over 11 coaches, how many years? So it means that we are not taking time. What about Harambee Stars? Some people coach for 2 months. How do you hire a coach for 2 months and pay that coach within that 2 months and say, we want you to deliver a qualification? It is not, you cannot, it is not magic. Yeah.
So as someone who was in those schools that were, you know, dealt with several sporting disciplines, rugby included, let's start with rugby. This particular morning, squad for Toulouse, London Legs have been unveiled. New coach at the helm, Innocent Simiyu, parted ways mutually with KRU. What's your take?
You know, those are jargons. When you hear a coach parting ways mutually, it means that maybe they have settled him one way or the other. When you talk of mutual, those are jargons. Simiyu did his best and left, but I think we need to look at coaches. They were with the Bling. Simiyu was with the Bling. You know, Bling was the coach of Lezail when I was in Uphill. So Bling was his assistant. The head
Lezail.
No, Simiyu national coach.
Oh, national team
yeah,
coach.
Yeah, national team coach. So we had Bling as his assistant. So I think the rugby union really need to look at the best way to develop that sport. They are at a very high level. We are considered among the best in rugby in the world. So we only need to maintain and improve on that and leave politics aside. I think rugby also has a lot of sponsors because of their performance in the field. So we need to use that sponsorship to develop the sport as required. I know Simiyu is my friend. Bling is my friend. I wish them well. If they bring other coaches, we wish them well.
They have brought a new coach.
They have brought a new coach. But yes, my problem is Kenya Harambee Stars.
Oh, the football part.
The football part. The federation, they have not given these people the opportunity to do their work. We cannot have coaches for 2 months. I was with Ghost in Rwanda when we were playing Rwanda, and we drew.
During the last qualifying campaign for AFCON?
Yes, I went there. I was one of the Kenyans who watched that match. We were with Ghost himself. They played quite well. We drew 1-1. I remember Olunga scored. They came back. They only played 1 match, and Ghost was sacked. I am not saying that I'm not tearing Ghost. Like I'm saying that let us give coaches. Even when Ghost took over from Kimanzi, even Kimanzi is one of the top coaches in this country, yes, in Africa. So you would not expect Kimanzi just to go there for 3 months or so and then he's sacked. We need to give our coaches time so that they deliver as other countries do.
Finally, Mwalimu, as school administrator, you've been at Upper Hill, Langata, Kamkunji, Dagoretti. I've seen Paul Otula right now as we speak is in Sunshine. There was a story that was done on Maseno School. Actually, it was done by our sister channel KBC. And since he left, Maseno had a mean of around 11 points. And since he left, Maseno is not doing very well. How can we balance the act? So that even as venye unang'ang'ania kuchukua Maseno kumuiba Kakamega High School kumleta Upper Hill ikuwa ina perform academically as it does the same on the field.
I think that is what I just said when I started, that academics and sports, they go hand in hand. Yeah. I've just said when we were in Upper Hill, the performance was going up, the sporting activities were also going up. Otula the same in Maseno. Is one of also the sportsmen that we have in this country, and also one of the best administrators in schools, I would say in schools in this country. So I don't want to hold for him brief, but I don't want to talk about, I only want to speak for myself. Yes. Yeah, so I only know that he's one of the best administrators, yes, and also one of the best people who love sports in this country. And I would only wish that even when we look at how we can develop sports, we look at those guys who are sportsmen at heart. Yes. They are put in places where they can develop policies and also where they can take this country to the next level in terms of sports development.
Someone is asking, how is Mwalimu trying to strategize to tame the former student Mcdonald Mariga in the race? You taught him?
Of course, I taught him. He sat in my chemistry class, chemistry and biology.
At Kamkunji?
At Kamkunji, from Form 1 to Form 4. He was
Mcdonald was from Form 1 to Form 4?
Yes.
And like Oliechu started at Kakamega then?
Yeah, and came in Form 2. Mcdonald came in Form 1.
Wanyama?
They are all Wanyamas. They are all came in Form 1. Victor also came in Form 1. People forget, the first one to come was Sylvester.
Wanyama. The one who was playing for Sony.
For Sony.
Skay.
Yeah.
Hesky.
Hesky now is another younger one. Hesky is another younger one. Between McDonald and Mugubi. We have Hesky.
Yeah.
So we also have Sylvester, who also played in the national team. In fact, there was a time they played all of them, 3 of them, in the national team. So that family. There's also
Baba,
their sister.
Yes, the one who plays basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Also, No, not the one doing professional. There's also one who is in KPA, who was in KPA, also was in Kamkunji. But this one who is in a professional, Wanyama, was with me in Langata.
Ah.
Yeah. So all the Wanyamas pass through my hands.
And now you're looking horns against each other, Mwalimu.
But that is life. We don't say that if somebody has graduated from your hand, you block his ways. In fact,
but you have cordial relationship, professional
very
friendship.
Much, very much. By the way, he's a very, very humble young man.
Who's that, Mcdonald or Victor?
All of them are
All
humble.
of them.
Yeah, all the Wanyamas are humble. Even Sylvester, very, very humble. And very good players because I think they have taken after their father. Even the mother was a great netballer, at Railways. But the father, played for FC for, I think, 17 years. Mzee And the national team for 11 years continuously. Left wing, very, very lethal player. So I think they have taken after their father. And when we meet, I don't need to have a strategy. I'll just tell him, please, now support your mentor. we can put him FKF to run the football. But for politics, now let him leave it to the people that can do politics. Teachers are politicians.
Yes.
So let him leave it to the teachers who can do politics. I welcome him, but I will tell him to relax because he's my boy.
And this is not the first time you're locking horns against each other. You did it during by-elections?
No. We did primaries in ODM.
Oh, you lost.
I lost.
To Imran.
Of course, I don't think I lost, but all the politicians. That's
the language of politician, Mwalimu.
All the politicians, even if somebody got 5 votes, they say that nilinyang'anyo.
Yeah.
But obviously, I was number 2 that time.
So you didn't go to the main ballot? I did go
to the main ballot. Where
to square it out with your student?
Yeah. But this time it is inevitable. Not just inevitable, it is almost a must that we will lock horns. But I will call him one-on-one to talk to him, to tell his person that they relax. They leave Baba's bedroom and the bedrock. Let them look for kuras in other regions.
How often do you meet with him?
We talk.
Even on phone?
Yeah, but not very often. We talk with him. It's very pleasant. So there's no problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are parting short your final submissions. It is sports and politics, Mwalimu. What do you need? What are you seeking to do for sports now that you are getting into that politician tag?
I think I will be a representative of the sports people fraternity in parliament. I'm one of those who have been at the help of sporting activities in this country. I will endeavor to ensure that the people of Kenya, at whatever level, through legislation, through policy, or otherwise, take this country to another level in terms of sporting activities. We need to put Kenya in a map because sports is a big industry and many countries have developed, like Brazil, all these countries, they have developed because of sports. Yeah. So I want Kenya to be in the same. And in politics, I think sportsmen are also politicians. And I want to put this also in politics and bring sports and politics together so that we can develop this country to another level.
Thank you, Mwalimu Peter Orero, for joining us. He's the, veteran sporting administrator joining us this particular afternoon to dissect on insights and what he seeks to do as far as sports legislation in the event that he gets elected on August 9th to become Kibra Member of Parliament. He's been at the helm of several schools in Nairobi, Langata, Dagoretti, Upper Hill, Kamukunji, and he's mentored several products, the likes of Kevin Ade Omondi, Musa Mohammed, Dennis Oliech, McDonald Mariga, whom he will be battling against as far as parliamentary candidature for Kibra is concerned, but he remains very optimistic that he will cruise. Hey, Mwalimu.
I wish you call him here with me so that we can talk when the time comes.
I will organize one of these fine days. In case you get elected, Mwalimu.
Yes.
Ensure you do what is good for sports at the parliament, sports legislation, and don't forget what we're talking about here. Because sports has to get to another level. Most of your students who will see you having been elected, they will rejoice because they know you will push for the proper policies, proper sponsorship, proper structures. Sio hii maneno ya mwalimu leo timu yangu without mentioning name nimelemewa nimekwama nipatie 50,000 nipeleke timu Bandari icheze. You know, that's not a long-term solution, right?
We must move away from that.
Yes.
And I believe, because I have been there, I know what is required for these teams. And we need to look at other ways of making teams sustainable.
Yes.
So I think that will be my challenge. And I think, God willing, we will make sure that when we come back to this studio, we'll be talking something else.
Thank you for joining us, Mwalimu Peter Orero. It's been a pleasure hosting you this particular afternoon, and all the very best ahead of, you know, August 9th as you seek to get elected Member of Parliament for Kibra. Thank you for coming through, and good luck, Mwalimu.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned. The Touchline continues. Up next, of course, we will be discussing about Kenya Rugby Sevens campaign during 2020-2021 World HSBC 7 series, alongside, you know, the state of Kenyan rugby, including other issues with Ngaro Kamuyo, who is already in studio. Don't go away, stay tuned.